Could you state your name, please?
J.C. Raffety.
And what was your profession, JC?
Well, when I first became affiliated with Rotary, I was a special agent with the FBI.
Oh, wow.
I was so employed for 32 years, retiring in 2000. But when I moved to West Virginia back in 1983, I was assigned to the Clarksburg, West Virginia office. And after residing here for about a year and a half, we had developed some friendships. And one was with Dr. Reg Olson, who was a sociology professor at Wesleyan.
Yeah.
And he invited me to attend a Rotary meeting. Maybe in the spring of 1985 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And soon thereafter I joined.
Okay. And where are you from originally?
Difficult to say. My parents, my father was a naval aviator during World War II in Korea. And so I moved around up until about age 12.
Okay.
And he retired Illinois, which was his home state. And I attended my public schools in Illinois through graduation.
Okay.
After graduating, I moved to Washington, D.C., and that was it.
Okay. So, 1985 was around the time that the Buckhannon Rotary started accepting women. Do you remember that transition very well? Or?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I sponsored the second female member, was Mary Dean, who had a very successful experience in Rotary and went on to become a district governor.
Yes.
I believe in 2000.
And so then did you sponsor anyone else?
Lance Corey, who was a good friend of mine, but Lance had been in Rotary, I believe, prior to my joining.
Yeah.
And had changed jobs that took him outside of Buckhannon. And then when he changed jobs again, allowed him to be closer to Buckhannon, I encouraged him to reaffiliate, and he did.
Yeah, yeah. So how did Reg Olson get you to Rotary? How did you stay with Rotary?
Well, Reg's wife, Barbara, was a realtor. So when we first transferred to West Virginia and decided to live in the Buckhannon area, she was a realtor that we utilized in our home search. And as a result of that, we became friends, family friends. And then, of course, knew that Reg through that acquaintance. And say about a year or so after we moved to this area, Reg invited me to a luncheon dinner, which then was above the G.C. Murphy. And that was like the second or third floor. It was quite a struggle up to but it was a fun group, a good group of professional people, and certainly interested in doing good things for the community.
Yeah. Great.
Something I appreciated at the time.
So how, being, in the FBI, how did you balance work and Rotary?
Very easily. In the sense that one that would be drawn to work for the FBI would also be someone interested in civic affairs, interested in better community, that sort of thing. So it was very simple in that aspect of it. And the Rotary at that time really had a couple of functions in terms of programs, as I recall. We were just initiated before I joined. I believe was the Polio Plus program.
Yeah, yeah.
And our small group of Rotarians over I think it was about a 3 or 4 year period. I joined Rotary, I think, after it had already initiated. But they were pledged to, I think it was $37,500.
Wow.
Which we raised over the time period, 4 or 5 years. And it was also around that time that the blood screening method of fundraising plus providing community service came into being. So, and of course they've expanded since then to other opportunities as well.
So tell me about some of your favorite or earliest memories with Rotary.
I think just, Rotary was sort of for that time, sort of a step back. In the sense that you had a group of, at the time initially, you had a group of men. I was one of the younger Rotarians. I think I would have been about 34 435
Yeah.
at the time I joined, and the vast majority were much older than me.
Yeah.
But that was not something that made it difficult. It was just a very festive group, very a lot of hospitality. The idea that you'd have a group of people start off their meeting by singing a bunch of songs
Yeah.
was kind of unique. But after your experience with Rotary, that became tradition. And I believe in traditions, so following through with traditions. So
Yeah.
it was easy to. And I think the idea that people were interested in doing things for a community. You had Rotary did at that time and still does have a large influence on the community,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And so you're the only person to date who has been president twice. So first off, how did you become president twice?
Well, I was on the board, and
Okay.
you tend to serve in different capacities on the
Yeah.
board. And in this particular case, I think I started off on the board maybe in the international service.
Okay.
About that time, my wife and I think what drew me to that was my wife and I. My wife is a school teacher.
Okay.
At that time, I believe she was a high school teacher of mathematics. But we had a daughter and a son that were high school age, several years apart. And we, over a period of, say, the mid-'80s to early '90s, we probably had 5 or 6 exchange students.
Okay.
And I've always, being a undergraduate degree in political science and history, I've always had an interest in current events and affairs, and had an interest in government, and an interest in foreign affairs, and learning. One thing about being in the military and the Navy especially, you do some traveling, and it opens up doors to you that maybe would not have been open for me at that early age in life if I raised in one part of the country and stayed in one town all my life. But so we had that, and I think that was probably part of it that drew me to the international service.
Yeah.
And we had our foreign exchange students through Rotary, and also the RILA. I was participating in that.
Yeah.
So that was it. You just get involved in some aspect, and as you gather more knowledge and more practical applications, and you find what the real meaning of Rotary is by attending the conferences and things of that nature.
Yeah. And so how would you say your responsibilities changed from being a member to being president the second time? Did you find it to be more difficult as time went on?
Yes, it was. Of course, the older you get, you have different perceptions and whatnot.
Right.
And at the time I was president the second time around, there was about a 10-year gap, I believe.
Okay.
And at that time, I had retired from the FBI, and I was appointed United States Marshal for Northern District by President Bush. And so it was a little more, I guess you'd say my schedule was not as free, or as, I wasn't in control of my schedule as much as I was earlier. Because when I was in the Bureau, I covered this area as investigative responsibility, so I found myself in a